Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Bas. I'm very excited. It's funny, we ran into each other the other day. I was having breakfast, and I recognized you pretty much immediately. I was like, oh, this guy looks familiar. And then you have a very strong name, and I just remembered we'd connected a couple times. So I'm stoked to be here. You know, it's funny how the world brings people together in different places, and I'm really excited for this conversation. So let's do it.
Nice, man. Good to have you here. So main reason you're also here is I think you're super creative, and you found really unique ways to turn this creativity into a living. And I think we have a lot in common, like from tanning our balls to changing people's lives, right? So yeah, I think you're just really creative. You've done a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of my followers know you, but not like everybody. So could you maybe like introduce yourself a bit further?
Yeah, sure. I think your introduction was pretty thorough. But my name is Arlin Moore. I am an entrepreneur. I would also say artist. Creative personality. I was raised in the States, as you said, on the East Coast in Boston, actually a town hour and a half outside of Boston called Cape Cod. And my mom is a painter. My dad's a photographer, so I had very creative genes and a very creative artistic upbringing. Actually, before I got here, I was just with my girlfriend at the Picasso Museum in Barcelona and the MoCo Museum of Contemporary Art in Barcelona, looking at Basquiat and Warhol and Banksy and some of the bigger artists. So I would say I'm an artist, and I'm also very inspired by people in business because, you know, money allows you to have a larger impact on the world. And I think I really try to do my best to blend my artistic blood with the business world and make that be a very strong signature of what I do in business. Because I really think that the business world, entrepreneur space, especially the course space in general, is like very analytical and void of art completely. So I really try to merge the two worlds.
That's wonderful, man. That's wonderful. Yeah, like the coaching space has exploded like nowadays, right? Everybody wants to be a coach. Like, do you consider yourself as a coach, or is it more like because you teach people a lot of stuff?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I would say I'm a coach. I almost prefer it to be a different vibe than coach, more so as just a guy that knows things. A guy that knows more about certain things than others. But then, you know, I don't know. I just think the whole, like, I'm a consultant, I'm a coach. It creates a strange dynamic that almost makes you, or when you think about it, makes it feel maybe a little bit scammy or a little bit like too strict. So I kind of like the positioning of more of like I guess like early Greek kind of like Aristotle, like, you know, they weren't coaches or like, I guess they were philosophers, but they were more just like intelligent people that knew things and could share and help others and stuff like that. So I kind of like that over the modern coach course world, which has taken over. And so yeah, but still, I would say when it comes down to it, it is coaching that I do.
Yeah. In the end, really nice that you brought up this ancient philosophy thing. Are you into ancient philosophy?
Yeah, I would say I'm more so into. I mean, I'm into philosophy, but I was really into like studying like mysticism, like Sufism, even like ancient Jewish and Islamic texts and stuff like that, and Hermeticism and stuff like that. And I think it's interesting how that's all like taken a really interesting like juxtaposition or combination with quantum physics. And I've always been very fascinated with that world. I would like to get more into like, you know, I would say like political philosophies and like study that a bit more. I have a little bit, but I wouldn't say that's my strong suit. I am very interested though.
Yeah, nice. Like I'm really interested in Stoic philosophy. Like it's also like I think people know me for, like Stoic philosophy. And in Stoic philosophy, it's really like simplifying life. And Stoic philosophy like also picks from all of these other philosophies and beliefs and religions. And I think like that is also what it's about in the end, like to learn all of these things, to study all of these things and pick like the main thing from it.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Diogenes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really like the very alternative, somewhat lesser known philosophers from that age. Like I'm pretty sure Diogenes was famous for like, he would just like walk backwards in the street, and it was like his demonstrations. Or
without
like,
weird clothes, or without
like go
clothes,
naked,
barefoot,
and like pee on people or pee on himself.
Yeah.
Like it was all a demonstration to show that you don't. I think like walking backwards is like we're walking backwards as a society with all the materialism. And, so I like that kind of stuff a lot. Actually, I would say I really think like one of the modern day philosophers is one of my friends, Riva.
Mm-hmm.
And she has writing on her website. It's called hardtowrite.com.
Mm-hmm.
And she is probably one of the most, at least from what I know, like modern day philosophers. And I don't know if she would call herself a philosopher, but the way she thinks is so fascinating and inspiring to me, and like so many guys that I'm friends with as well. Are you familiar with Riva at all?
No.
Oh, she's so cool.
Yeah,
so
check her out.
Her short background, like elevator story. She was born like into a home abusive father.
Mm.
Her mom had like schizophrenia, and so she was also homeless.
Wow.
And just like really difficult childhood. And when she was 9, she told herself she was going to be a millionaire in her early 20s, and she became a millionaire.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, she's in this apartment, and these two guys named Gavin Wood and Vitalik Buterin are like sleeping on her couch, paying her rent in Ethereum. Like,
wow.
So like she's just been in this like tech space since a very young age, and she's probably one of the smartest people I know too. So she's smarter than most anyone I know.
Yeah.
And her philosophy of life is just so inspiring. I think one of the biggest things that I think about on a daily basis now is, like, you've heard of abundance mindset, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I would say Riva to me is responsible for like extreme abundance mindset.
Yeah.
Which is basically like she's made millions of dollars, and then she's also spent millions of dollars to go back to zero to then prove to herself that she can do it again. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
So like, so
requires guts.
Yeah. There's kind of like this thing I think everybody faces, a little like mental complex we find ourselves in, where we're like, oh, like even I was at the Picasso exhibit just now, and I was looking at these things in the store, and I think from like the wiring of how you grow up, you look at the price of like, I don't know, I was thinking of getting my parents some gifts.
Yeah.
And it was like this, I don't know, this like ring and this pillow. And I look at the price, it's like 85 euros. I'm like, and immediately your mind is like, oh, can I afford that?
Yeah.
And with Riva, it's like, I think about her and I'm like, well, if you just buy it and you don't even think twice about it, if you can condition yourself to do that, then that's putting yourself in the reality of being able to do that in the future to the point where it doesn't, to the point where you'll always make more. And in reflecting on that, and over the past several years, like since I've been in the online space, pretty much every time I've gone with my gut, and almost to the point where like if I've been drawn to purchase something, even if it was somewhat expensive or seemingly like not a very good financial choice in the eyes of like standard advice financially, it has always worked out, and I've always made more money.
Yeah.
So that's been like a really transformative philosophy, I think, that I've learned from Riva. And there's been a lot of other things as well. I think the second one, I have two more thoughts from Riva.
Nice.
So the second one is like not only, well, I guess it's extreme being yourself.
Yeah.
So being the most extreme version of yourself. And the only way I can really describe this that comes to mind right now is like if you go into her apartment, she has a penthouse in Las Vegas that, by the way, I don't know how much she wants me to disclose of this, but I'm sure she's fine. That I know she like, whenever she gets something, she likes to just pay for it all up front because she doesn't have to think about paying rent. The 12 times a year, it's like just boom, pay it all up front. Okay, done. Now you have clear headspace the rest of the year. No worries whatsoever. And in the apartment, I've never seen anything like it. Like I just went to the Museum of Modern Art, Contemporary Art in Barcelona. Her apartment, it is like a museum. It has the most insane art pieces everywhere. It feels like you're in a dream. Like a what's the why am I blanking on the name of the one with the Cheshire cat? What is it? Alice in Wonderland. It's like Alice in Wonderland almost. And she just has like, it's like a little girl's like dream imagination. Like it's so cool. And so just like going extreme. Like I think so many people are so conservative and like in how they present themselves on social media and in how they decorate their room even. And she's a good example of like being completely extreme with who you are. And then I think did you have a thought on that?
Yeah, just I have a lot of thoughts.
Oh, okay.
So just
keep going. Okay.
So
the last one with Riva is, so the first one is like extreme abundance. Actually, little story. We were in Vegas. She lives in Vegas. We went to it was either Encore or the Bellagio or something. There's all these shops around, and we walked into Balenciaga, and they had these shoes, and they're these gigantic shoes. You know those Balenciaga shoes that are gigantic? And I kind of liked them, and they were like $1,200. And Riva was like, buy them. And I was like, do you think so? I was like, $1,200 for shoes? That seems a little like absurd. And then I was like, you know what? This is going to remind me that how big these shoes are every time I wear them, to think in that abundance way. So in that sense, they're worth $1,200. So I just bought them. And every time
they become like a tool to think bigger.
Exactly.
It changes the way you think and perceive yourself as well. Do
you have a tattoo on your arm?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a tattoo. It's like if you're wearing a shoe. Right. So I think the extreme abundance mindset, the extreme being yourself. And then, the third one, this one, oh man, how do I even articulate this? It's basically extreme ignoring facts. And this actually comes from another modern day philosopher named Paul Feyerabend.
Like not accepting anything that the world throws at you.
No facts, just no science. Whatever you believe is true. And even if it doesn't make sense, good, do it the way that doesn't make sense. And I'm trying to think of some examples of how that's applied, but I think, in the world of business specifically, you could really have an advantage doing that because so many people are like very metrics and fact focused when they're trying to scale. But sometimes it's like, well, why don't I just like go on a 2-month trip to Europe? And you have to think way outside the box if you really want to make those quantum leaps. And so, if I can think of a better example, I will. But I think those are my 3 Riva philosopher points.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think I saw a post on your profile with Riva. So I think in a shop or somewhere. I recognize her. I clicked her profile, but I think it was locked or it had.
Her profile is she has no posts. And she has a CryptoPunk as her profile picture. And then a couple highlights.
Cool.
And if you Google her, this is another huge part of Riva but she attributes this to Ayn Rand. I guess I am into philosophy. Now that I'm thinking about it, know all these names. Ayn Rand, Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged. Are you familiar with Ayn Rand? Yeah. She says, Riva says her favorite quote from that is, don't take life too seriously, basically. That's not exactly what it is, but that's essentially the message. And so, what was I saying? Shoot, I forget.
Just to not accept everything on Facebook.
Oh, right. If you Google her. If you Google her right now, you type in Riva Melissa Tez, it comes up with, the first thing is going to be a LinkedIn profile, Riva Melissa Tez, and it says Deputy CEO of Goldman Sachs. And the first time I looked her up and I was learning about Riva, I was like, she's the CEO of Goldman Sachs. And then I realized, oh, it's a joke.
Yeah.
She just doesn't care.
Yeah.
She actually has worked at Intel in like a very high up position. And she's consulted, like everybody wants Riva on their team.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think the way actually like she still takes care of her mom who's still alive, with schizophrenia. And I think the way that her brain was formed, just having a mom who had zero limitations on the world.
Yeah. Just like a living dream.
Yeah, exactly. Like that made Riva see through all the lies that society tells you.
Yeah.
And so that's my Riva rant.
That's beautiful, man. And also like things that you believe as true, they might get rebunked in 100 years when you're not even here anymore. Like why would you really care to defend the position or to really have like strong opinions, because in the end you know nothing, right?
Absolutely.
You're just here for a very short period of time.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool, man. So you're now like traveling through Europe, as you said, taking the big leap. Like what is your journey? Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey, maybe like 5 or 10 years ago until now, and like where did it start? Just briefly.
Sure, yeah. So 10 years ago, I was 15 and I had a good upbringing. As I said, my mom, painter, dad, photographer, so lots of art growing up. And I had a good childhood. I played a lot of sports. There was a little bit of like mental health stuff in my family. Mm-hmm. My dad had like bipolar depression and was on some medications for that, and had a couple times that I think were probably somewhat traumatic for me growing up.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of them. But when I was 15, my friends started smoking weed and they're smoking ganja, marijuana, and I started partaking, and I never like wanted to, but I was fitting it with the friends. And after a couple months of doing it, I had this one like major panic attack, and it just spawned a series of, well, really the next 4 years or so was just riddled with like anxiety attacks, insomnia, negative thinking patterns, really just depression. And I remember like driving to school every day, thinking to myself, like, just pull over to a tree and like end it all. And I didn't want to, but I had these thoughts. Yeah. And I was like, maybe if I have these thoughts, that means I want to, and I didn't want to tell anybody. So I just like felt very trapped in this mental prison. And so, it was a difficult time, but at the same time, there was relief. Like I have really good friends from high school and really good memories. It was just, there was this one side of it, like mentally, that I felt I couldn't escape. And then around the time I turned 18, I just had this like waking up moment where I was sitting at my table, much like this. And I just thought to myself, what if my thoughts just stopped? Yeah, crazy. And these negative thoughts just were no more.
Next level of consciousness.
Yeah.
First time above like your
above thinking. I was like, does this exist?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, cool.
This is, and I was scared at first. I was like, well, what if I never think again? Yeah. Then who am I? Like, what is everything? Yeah. And that spawned this like giant philosophy discovery thing. And I got super into Ayn Rand. I mean, I was like just grasping for any kind of philosophy that would like ground me, because the world, like no one knows what's happening. And when you're 18 and you just realize your consciousness and you feel like no one else around you has, it's definitely like frightening. Yeah. And so I just remember like doing that, but then I discovered positive psychology shortly after and learned how to rewire my mind to now be more positive. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I discovered like books, like you can read self-development books and self-develop and fix all these problems that you're living with. Literally change. Yeah. And so that was very exciting because I had so much hope. Like I was like, well, if I can fix my mind, which has been screwed up the last 4 years, then I can fix anything, like my finances, my relationships. I can get girls' attention. Like I can do anything. So that was very exciting. And when I was a freshman, I went to Boston University and studied. I studied film originally, and then I switched to business, and then I hated it, so I went back to film. Cool. Yeah. And I made a ton of friends. I was very into like the relationship kind of pickup niche of like learning social dynamics. So like real social dynamics, RSD, for those, I'm sure a lot of guys watching this probably know, I'm sure you know RSD. And I watched all of their videos and I just went and implemented and practiced. Yeah. And I would go out and go to parties, go to the dining hall, just go to the class, and just testing everything. Yeah, and then I'd go home and I would journal. Yeah. And I would write like, here's what I said to this person, and here's exactly what happened, and here's the 3 pros, and here's the 3 cons, and what I can do next time to improve. And I have hundreds of pages when I was 18. Just surveying. Every night. Like I would do every day, every night. Yeah. And then I took it a step up, and sophomore year I started a YouTube channel and started videotaping everything. And for those people that understand YouTube, it was basically like Casey Neistat, but a college student. Yeah. So I was just filming my life and showing my friends and the parties and the lifestyle and the whole, like my dorm room, and just making little videos pretty much every single day. Yeah. And I made hundreds of videos. And the interesting thing about that was like, now I was filming all my interactions. And I could go home and instead of journaling about them, I would just like watch them. Yeah. And I would then cut out the parts where I looked weird, or like I would just notice if I said too much or too much, or how this girl reacted to me when I said this. And so I did that for like 5 years, just self-editing my social skills. Yeah. And I only realized that a couple of years ago, like how intense that is as like a social experiment on yourself. That's crazy. To have a vlog. Not to mention like the fear you have to get over of filming yourself in public. Yeah. Right. So I did that for.
Why did you start? Like, why did you start with, okay, now I'm going to film like my whole life. Now I'm going to film like every step.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah. I started, I tried to, okay. So it goes to back to freshman year, and I had a bunch of friends freshman year. And I remember I watched The Social Network about Zuckerberg building Facebook. Yeah. And there's a scene in that movie where Zuckerberg is in class and his friend comes up to him and is like, Mark, do you know if Katie's single? And he's like, how would I know if Katie's single? It's not like people walk around with a sign on themselves that says if they're in a relationship or not. Yeah. And then he like sprints out of the classroom and builds the relationship button, like the relationship status button for Facebook. And that was one of the major things that catalyzed Facebook's growth. So I saw that scene and I was like, I don't know what it's going to be, but I need something in my life where I get an idea in the middle of class and I leave class like barefoot in the snow. Yeah. And because that's what he did. He was like wearing flip-flops. Yeah. And like I jet back to my room to build whatever that thing is, because I need like some kind of higher purpose or higher calling, and I wanted to make money. Yeah. So I tried to make an app freshman year. I worked on it all freshman year, basically didn't go anywhere. And then I was watching YouTube videos, and a friend of mine now, his name's Justin Escalona, was doing YouTube videos. I was watching Casey Neistat, and I was watching another girl who went to my school named Gretchen. And there were a couple key moments I remember that really made me want to do YouTube from a financial standpoint. And one of them was I overheard Gretchen in the dining hall talking to her friends about how like she's stressed about like, you know, getting her parents Christmas gifts and like paying her own tuition. Mm-hmm. And I know it's different in Europe, but Boston University tuition is $75,000 per year. Wow. And she was paying it at 20 or 18 years old. Yeah. And I was like, hold on a second. Like maybe I should consider doing YouTube. Yeah. And then Justin was doing very similar videos. I really like Justin's videos because he was like at USC, so he's other end of the country. Cute girlfriends, funny guy friends, really good with a camera, and he was just showing his life and like making cinematic sequences. And then one video he released was like, I just bought a car, a BMW with my YouTube money. And I was like, that's it. Yeah. Like I'm doing this. Yeah. So there was that. And then it was those combinations. Like I knew I had some financial opportunity. Yeah. I knew, you know, I knew that it would be fun for me and it'd be like a fun project. And the last thing really was like, if it failed, well, I'm a film major. Yeah. So I'll just learn how to get better at making videos and editing. Like you make 2 films a year in film school. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I was like, why don't I make 300 a year? Yeah. So I just started going crazy with the videos, and I grew like 100,000 or so subscribers in the first year, 2 years, and built this cult-like following. Launched a clothing brand, merch line, and signed to like an agency. Started traveling, and it was great. It was definitely a very fun time, and I'm so glad I have all those videos to look back on. And
I love all the comments from everybody. Like, I've been following you since the first video, and like every post, there's these comments.
Yeah, exactly.
Hardcore following. Yeah,
very, very cult-like. I mean, it was when you do that, put that much in, it's crazy. How good you get at like telling a story, and how people just become like devoted followers. So that was very formative, and I think another interesting part to point out was like in my headspace, I still felt like I had gotten a lot better with people. I became known as a guy online that had really cool friends and like lived this really cool lifestyle, but I still felt like there was this upper echelon that I couldn't touch. And I didn't know what it was. And so then when I went to travel to Australia, my last year of college, I was on the plane and I was reading The 4-Hour Workweek. And Tim Ferriss, of course.
Good book.
Classic business book. Yeah. And it said, I remember those lines, I mean, the whole concept was like how to grow your business by doing less. Yeah. So I was like, well, maybe if I want to crack into that upper echelon, like socially, and experience like the coolest lifestyle possible, maybe I have to do less because I'm doing so much.
I'm
filming all this
videos,
stuff. I was also basically just trying to do it from scratch. Like I would go up and say my whole thing that I would say over and over was my best social advice is say hi to people before they say hi to you. But then you just become this like walking, talking like robot of hello to people, and you're trying to handpick everybody. And the realization I had that helped me and got me to where I am today with the people that I'm around is realizing that the upper echelon of society already has a tribe. Like they already have a group of friends that they're in. You don't have to like build it from scratch. All you have to do is figure out essentially like who are the most respected people in that tribe, that upper echelon. And then you have to insert yourself into that tribe by befriending them and offering value in some way. So I started doing that, and that's when I think my life just got like, it really like hopped into the next level. And all of a sudden I'm in Bali with within like a few weeks of realizing that my whole life changed.
What did you change like behavior wise?
Well, I just realized that like it had nothing to do with my behavior. It had nothing to do with how much money I had. It had nothing to do with how many followers I had. Everything stayed the same for what I was doing the last few years, except my outlook and my strategy. So, for example, I realized that I got to Australia. I was like, I want to know all the influencers and models in Australia. So where are they going to be? And I just happened to be lucky, actually, that VidCon Australia was in Australia the first week that I was in Australia. So it was in Melbourne and I was in Sydney. So I took a flight and I just showed up. I was like, I just have to go there. I didn't have a ticket. I didn't have an invite or anything, but I had a YouTube channel and I was like, maybe they'll let me in. So I guess you could say I used my social skills to like find a way into it. And once I was in there, I was in. And I met like everybody that I could have wanted in literally 2 days in all of Australia. So it was such a simple mindset shift that because I was thinking about it, like, oh, maybe I just have to go to the places where those people exist, where I know they exist. And then once I'm there, as long as I can add value to them in some way, which I figured out how to pretty quickly as well, then I've reached that next level. And I just started doing that again and again, not only in Australia, but in LA, like Miami, and anywhere around the world I go now. I have this set of tools. And, life's been really crazy. Like, I mean, the past 2 months have been insane.
Now you've been traveling through Europe. Going everywhere.
So, I mean, in Europe, like I'm with my friend Adam Horowitz, who's also like a networking god.
Genius.
Yeah. I mean, everywhere we go, the coolest part about Adam is, and he's been traveling the past 10 years and he's made a lot of money from an early age. Like he made his first million at 17. So he's had the luxury of traveling, but he's also learned how to do it to the point where everywhere we've gone. So we went to the Cannes Film Fest, and at Cannes Film Fest, we had this connection who got us into Leonardo DiCaprio's after party. In Monaco, we're at a $100,000 table, and we didn't pay anything. In Saint-Tropez, we're at this like incredible villa that we got pretty much half off. In Napoli, we meet up with Adam's friend Mario, who grew up in Napoli and showed us around Napoli and Capri. And so like everywhere you go, the key is like have that person who's like a tribe leader essentially, and they can give you the best possible experience wherever you are.
But you need some guts to reach out to people, to create this for yourself, to find a tribe.
You need to know where to look.
Like, do you believe in the law of attraction in that sense, or?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a mixture of the law of attraction and also having the information. Like, for example, like every cool person, Adam and I call it a circuit, where essentially every cool person, not every cool person, but like a lot of the cool people go to specific events in specific times of the year in specific locations. So Coachella, for example, odds are if you go to Coachella, you're going to see like all the major influencers, entrepreneurs, and celebrities because everyone just goes to Coachella. Burning Man, Tulum, January 1st to the first 2 weeks of January. If you're going to the Cannes Film Fest, right? Like there's these certain locations that everyone in that circle that I wanted to be in at least is rotating around. And we talk about that quite a bit in 28K, but it's also something I talk about in Tribe Accelerator, which is another thing that I've been working on pretty heavily, which is really everything I've learned from a social perspective and how to build an incredible group of friends packed into a 7-week course and a community. And so that's been extremely fun to work on as well, because guys like come in there, they're in their like remote town in, Midwest United States or pretty much bumfuck nowhere. And then all of a sudden, like a few weeks later, they meet some guys in the program, they apply what they learn, and now they're in Bali or they're in Colombia or they're, and like their whole life is transformed just through the network that they create. And so that's partly why I get like, I now understand why I spent so much time studying this stuff, because it's like, it's a way to transurf reality in like, regardless of your income, regardless of, like if you can get anything you want in life through other people and not in a manipulative way, in a way that you offer value to. So that's what I talk about in Tribe Accelerator. But
that's interesting.
And I think that brings us roughly to where we are now.
Yeah, nice. And also to where we are, like actually now doing the podcast, because like same for me. Like I think it was in January with writing all the new goals and stuff. Like I wrote this new plan for the podcast, and I made like a small list of people I wanted to have on the podcast. Like these are the people I'm gonna have a podcast with, and you were like top 5 on that list. And now we're in July, and all of a sudden I see you in Barcelona. But you also need like the social guts in a way of understand these mechanics, but in combination with just action. Like always action, because if you're just standing still, like you can't learn to drive in the car that's parked, right? So you need this action, and then I just come to you, send you a DM, and now we're here. So it works with all of these things in life, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's a really good point. Me being on this podcast was a combination of, I would say, 3 things. One, of course, the law of attraction and like bringing us together in a way that we probably can't quite explain logically. Right. But 2, knowing that logically Barcelona in July is one of the best places in the world to be. And a guy like myself is probably going to be in Barcelona roughly around this time or somewhere in Europe, you know? So like, I'm not going to be in, Tennessee right now. Bit too hot. Like it's that's where I'm going to be. So you kind of, you factor that in. And then the third part is like the guts. Like, you didn't hesitate. You saw me, I saw you, and it's like, oh, like, nice to meet you. Yeah. So,
and also like I've been thinking as well, like as I always do, can I offer them value?
Right.
Like I need the cameras here so Arlin can get some nice reels out of it as well. Because if there's like no value, then what's the point for you coming here anyway? Like you're at my house. So I think it's also always, as you said, like always think about the value you can add as well. Because just look what they are missing or what's more convenient for them if you could do it for them. Or
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And I will say that's definitely something obviously I would say podcasting is like a huge networking hack.
Yeah.
Because it's massive value you can just, you can give to people. Yeah. Especially someone who runs like reels and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Like if somebody would ask me for a podcast and like I'm a creator as well, like if they would offer me like, please come to this podcast or can you come to this podcast? And you will get like tons of reels out of it. Yeah. I'll edit them for you. Just send them over. I would be like, wow. Yeah. It's so nice. Just like going there because like the everything, it's the editing itself can be, creating the content can be hard. Right. Editing can be hard. So if they know from a perspective, right, from a person that's creative, giving them reels, like for example, would really be beneficial for them.
Right. Especially you're asking really good questions as well, and I obviously see you prepared, so that's a big part of it too.
There's tons of questions more. Like you answered many of them already.
I'm excited.
Cool. Like I'm really excited as well, and talking about being excited. That's also what the next question is about. Like I think it was on your profile. I read this post or Twitter post. I don't know, but follow what excites you, and people will be excited to follow you. Which I was really excited about.
That's good. Did I say that?
I think you did. Yeah,
I think I did. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
It's enough, right? It's enough. But what are you currently like super excited about?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Because like personally, for me, it's in flows.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you now like constantly thinking about, being super excited about lately? What's on your mind?
I'm excited. The first thing that comes to mind is GCC, is Iman's project. I'm on the board for it as well. So I feel like it's partly my project, and obviously owning the tokens or the NFTs, it is partly my project. Yeah. So it's Iman and Pete are like the geniuses behind it really, but I'm like very excited to be contributing to it. But also honestly, just to learn. Like GCC, Gents Croquet Club, for those who don't know, is essentially a men's brotherhood on a guide of getting rich and staying wealthy. Yeah. And how to live life to the fullest. Yeah. I'm specifically excited to learn how to maximize my business growth and then learning investments, because I think I'm like pretty high on the if I had like a Mario Kart like rating of my like acceleration, speed, turning radius. Like I think my creativity and like branding and marketing is really solid, and like storytelling, but then my like investment, it's like scaling a business needs work, and I know that I'm going to learn that in GCC, and I love learning. And they have courses that they've built out. They just released one on watch investing. I should be wearing one of my watches right now, but so I'm excited to learn that. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm really excited for, I think, something that you mentioned at the start, and maybe even before we started recording, was like, I'm obviously very creative, and I want to merge the business side of that as well. But I feel limited in my creativity because of my parts of my gaps in business knowledge. Because if I can build the proper team and I can put the right people in place, then I have all the freedom in the world to just be the creative. And then I know the business will still grow. So I'm excited to learn that through GCC and see where it takes me. Not to mention, in a few days, I'm going to the first live event where we will actually be playing and learning croquet from a croquet master. Yeah. So cool. We're gonna, a bunch of the guys in the inner circle will be there, and I think there's like 12 or 15 guys. including Iman. And so, yeah, I'm super, super excited for that.
Nice. Yeah, I think that GCC is, I didn't get in because I was super busy with other stuff. And like sometimes you're just focusing on other stuff. But like, I think the product is genius, or the tool is genius, like building this crazy high level network, like everything you need, all the people you need, all the tools you need, like everything is in there. I think that's one of the smartest things like you can do also with your product as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very excited for GCC.
Nice, man. Nice. And I was wondering like how important is authenticity for you? You already like mentioned in the beginning that you learned from Riva like this importance of authenticity, and especially in the coaching space, like this is something that's been on my mind like with me for like the last, I think, 5-6 months, thinking about how should I position myself online, what's going to be the next content about. And then like everybody's positioning themselves in the same way. Like, and then a friend of me, like last week I was talking to him and he said like, he's in Bali. He said like, yeah, I meet all of these entrepreneurs and they all look super, not that kind on Instagram. They look super cool and hard to reach. And when I see them in person, they're a totally different person, right? They're so nice and open and ready to connect. So this is something that's on my mind. Like, what should I bring out content wise? How do you look at this stuff? Because you've been creating for like years, making videos.
Yeah.
Do you like consciously think about it every time you make a post? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And this is something I talk heavily about in Tribe Accelerators, like how to brand yourself on social media, because in so many ways your digital identity is becoming more important like every day, and to the point where like if you're dating a girl and her friends are like, who's this guy you're dating? What's she gonna show them? Your Instagram. You know, like and if you go out and you meet someone cool at a restaurant or a bar or something like that, and you exchange phone numbers, that's one thing, but people lose phone numbers. You follow each other on Instagram, you send a DM. It's like if you have something to show that's like very authentic and cool and uses like social proof and, you know, basically like neurological attraction triggers, then, you know, you're a lot more likely to get that connection and like level up however you want to. So I think about it a lot. Yeah.
Do you care the way your feed looks? Like, is it important for you?
A little bit. I definitely do think about that a little bit. I don't know. It depends what you're optimizing for, you know, like, I have really three Instagram accounts. I have my personal, I have the Maxi Instagram, and then I have the Course Builder Instagram. And so, you know, those like the Course Builder and Maxi are just real content, you know, short form, 15 to 30 second. And then I have my TikTok, which is all short form stuff. I have an editor that goes through and does that. And then my main is more so, you know, I don't post a ton on my feed. I post on my stories like a lot. Just because from like the testing I've done, well, I really enjoy posting on stories. It's kind of like a blog. And, you know, I could share whatever's on my mind in that moment. I can do it in like an artistic way. And it's basically like email. You know, I look at Instagram stories like email, and you have a list of for me, like transparently, I have like 5,000 to 10,000 people watching my stories, and so I can, you know, send out essentially a message that 7,000 people are watching every single day. I can do like 15 to 30 messages. It's like it's a lot. So you know, it's almost like having a blog, and then you could direct them to a podcast or a YouTube video or really anything you want, or a sales page. So for what I'm optimizing for, which is like you know, getting more people into my businesses, B, it's fun for me. And then on the feed side of it, it's like, I partly use it as an example for my target student for Tribe Accelerator, which is like, you know, a lot of guys who join Tribe are not necessarily coaches, like, you know, yourself, you do coaching. They're guys who just like want to improve their social circle and do it in a shorter amount of time. So they don't want to be spending tons of time on Instagram. They'd rather just have the 4-hour work week of Instagram.
Yeah.
And so that's partly what I tell them to do. So for that, it's a different story because they're optimizing more for like being able to influence guys that they want to do business with and girls that they want to potentially date.
Yeah.
If you're like a coach or a consultant or something along those lines, I think it's a different story.
Yeah. And like, do you believe like from a personal brand wise, the way you position yourself, like authenticity exists when it's curated? Because like we always think about, we want to be our truest selves and we want to show our truest selves. But then again, we're looking at how the fuck does our feet look?
Right.
Are we still authentic if it's like curated to that extent? Like
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think who you are then is someone who cares about beauty and aesthetic, which there's nothing wrong with.
Yeah.
Like if you just randomly present yourself to the world however you feel in the moment, regardless of, like if you're just ignoring your aesthetic and like design and art, then that's fine. But that's then like art and aesthetic and design is like not a part of who you are authentically. Yeah. But if you care about it, then that's good. That shows that is you expressing yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of similar to like asking an artist like, well, why do you choose to use like these colors on the painting? Like, why don't you just paint whatever that you feel like doing? And it's like, well, because I want to express the art or the painting in a specific way because that's how I want it to look. And because you do obviously care what other people think.
Yeah.
So I think authenticity is a combination of like having almost like systems for your own way that you view yourself, which is essentially branding, mixed in with the expression of those systems in the moment. Yeah. Like that being like present, Eckhart Tolle, like now, right? So you're kind of combining your present moment with the systems you have in your mind for how you should be perceived.
Yeah, that's a nice way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's an interesting question you asked. Yeah, I like that.
How do you see yourself? Like, side note, I already told like we had a lot of shit in common. I play guitar. There was a song of Ed Sheeran, and my favorite part was the sentence was "illuminaire over me," which I thought like, okay, what is the word illuminaire? It's like shining light. Mm-hmm. Looked at your bio today, saw in your bio like first things, illuminaire. Like, what does that word mean to you, and like, how do you view yourself?
Yeah, I think my most authentic mission in life is to enlighten and raise the collective consciousness. So Illuminar or Illuminara or Luminaire just essentially means to bring the light of consciousness into the world.
Yeah.
And so I think I just have that in there because it's like one word to describe, I think, what I'm meant here to do. It's really what I think everyone is meant here to do. So it's nothing special, but I like how it looks aesthetically. I think that matters. Like,
and it's Latin.
Yeah, it's Latin. Cool. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, so it's also like slightly mysterious. People kind of think about what does that possibly mean? Yeah. I actually got the idea from my friend Justin Liao. It's who is Justin Liao on Instagram. And he has in his bio, it says flaneur. And like when I first saw it, I was like, what is a flaneur? Yeah. And I just got really invested in what is a flaneur. And it's basically someone who just observes reality and observes the world and doesn't partake in social norms and just does whatever they want observing. So yeah, I think a luminaire is just one who brings light into the world. And I think that's a good thesis of what I aim to do.
Nice. I love that. Are you like, do you believe in that there could be like one purpose in life? Or do you believe like in having multiple purposes during your lifespan? Because now bringing light, raising the collective consciousness feels a bit like, okay, this is my purpose. Like, what is your view on that?
I think there's different levels of it to examine. On that level, like my purpose is to raise the collective consciousness. That's happening inevitably. That's God's purpose. It's not really even a purpose. It's more just like this is happening. The universe is expanding. Yeah. Consciousness is expanding. It's not intending to do it. It just is. That is what's happening. The universe is expanding. Everyone's consciousness is expanding. It's happening. But on a sub level, like under that for our rational human minds, of course we can have like a purpose that was, more so destined for us on like the physical plane of like, I need to build this business now, or I need to create this art or create this video. And so your purpose can be broken down into smaller steps along that way. But I really think altogether we're all like doing little missions here and there that are part of that greater raise the collective consciousness part. Yeah.
And did you find like in your life, like or the last 5 years, a moment where you felt like purposeless? Like
over the last 5 years,
where you thought like, okay, shit, what's next? What even is my purpose?
Yeah, I think I have felt that. I specifically thinking to 2019 when I had just gotten out of a super difficult relationship that exposed a lot of my own insecurities, and I had stopped doing YouTube for like 8 months in this relationship essentially, and stopped doing everything I love for like this relationship. And I had then gotten back into doing YouTube and everything that I loved, and I was selling merch again. But I felt like, again, there was this next level. Like I've definitely found times in my life where I was like, what's the next level? I feel it. Like there's something where I think a lot of people relate to this. Like it's boiling inside me, but what is it? I know it has to do with like I love the design and merch stuff, but I have to do something greater. Yeah. And there's got to be something, like I know it's somewhere inside. And I've always invested in coaching programs and personal development. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in that space. And I was in this one program called Wake Up Wealthy by Brody Kern and Julian Rosen. Yeah. And Julian told me on one of the coaching calls, he was like, I kept telling him, I was like, Julian, there's this thing. I don't know what it is, but it's inside me. And I feel like I'm about to go to this next level. Yeah. And he was like, okay, Arlen, just set a timer for 2 hours, get a pen and a pad and turn off everything else and just write out what that thing is that's boiling inside you, and don't expect anything. So I did that, and that's when I came up with the idea for Maxi, which as soon as I had the idea, I was like, holy shit. Yeah. Like this is big. This is going to be huge. Yeah. And Maxi is something that I actually envisioned at that point it had been like the last 4 or 5 years, which is a very simple, easy to use behavioral change tool. In the simplest terms, it's an online organization tool for your life. So you map out your life from the end, and you look at everything you want to achieve, and then you break it back and really reverse engineer your goals and your vision for yourself and who you want to become. And then you fill out a plan for your week, every week, and a plan for the next day, every day. And the questions that it asks you to plan your week and your day follow the 80-20 rule, which most people don't even know what it is, but it's essentially a much more effective way of thinking and planning. And you could get like 5 to 10 to 20 times more productive if you think this way. So the problem I saw, and the reason I was so excited at that time about Maxi, and I still am, is that most people don't know or define what they want. They don't take the time to decide who they want to be. Yeah. Then, even if they do know what they want, they go about it very ineffectively and they do all this random shit. So Maxi helps you define what you want, and then it helps you get there in the most efficient way possible. Yeah. And then the last part is that it helps you to retrain your brain and reprogram and rewire your subconscious to become that version of yourself that you previously defined and decided was what you wanted to achieve throughout your whole life. So it's this planner, brain rewiring tool. And I was sitting there and I wrote out exactly how it was going to work. And I was like, I don't know how to code. And I don't have $100,000 to pay a programmer right now. Yeah. What do I do? Yeah. So I went into my network, my tribe, and I called the smartest person I know in that space, which was my friend Nick. And Nick managed at the time 70,000 people at First Republic Bank. He was the CTO. He's now also the CTO of Hubi. And I was like, Nick, I have an idea for an app. what do I do? Do I have to raise money? Do I have to code it?
That's the first step.
Yeah. And he was like, well, you could just probably build it yourself. And I was like, what? How?
Yeah.
So along with my other friend, Jay Bing, who also works with Wake Up Wealthy, Jay and Nick together basically held my hand to show me that there's this thing called Zapier, which is like Lego blocks, Lego building blocks for tech. And I built Maxi myself using Zapier and just released it to 30 people in my following, and then got feedback, did iterations, released it to another 30 people, got feedback, iterations, released it again. And I did that throughout the whole pandemic. Yeah. And so I built this like sick product myself as the programmer and CEO and marketer, like one person business that was just churning, there's just, creating incredible transformations in people. So that was my pandemic project. Nice. And that became my new purpose. So I think the lesson there that I would share with people is, if you feel like there's a next level, do that like 2-hour exercise. Like if you feel like there's something boiling inside you, 2 hours, write in a journal and turn everything off and just don't expect anything and allow it to come out on the paper, and then trust that whatever it is, even if it's scary and you don't know how to program, you can find a way to make it happen. I think that, if anything, shows like I'm a artist kid. I don't know how to use a computer. So
nice. Good tip. And second tip as well, like as Arlen said, I created it, tested it, allowed like 30 people in. Always just start collecting feedback, even if it's like a beta, or even like sell the idea. That's the way you can use social, right? Like you tell this message, you have an idea, you're going to let 50 people in, discount it, they're going to get in, and when they're in, they signed, then you really have to start creating the product, right? So also like start before you're ready. I think that's a good example.
Absolutely. Sell before you build.
Yeah. Like I've been making that mistake myself. Like this is like the 4th or 5th business I'm building, and this one now is like, how do you define successful? But for the first time, I have the feeling that it's kind of successful. And what I used to do was like always build, but especially from a creative side. Like I want it to look like this. I want it to be like this. Like build it, and then finding out you don't have the marketing skills, or the market is not ready, or you don't know how to find more customers. And now, like with this company as well, I started a beta group, and then when I sold, then I started to create the product. And still, like now, almost 1 year in, we're changing it up like almost every 2 weeks, and I think it's a good thing. And now you can also like change it up with the clients, with the people that are actually using it, to make it better for them. So I also believe like this is really crucial to make it really a good product for them, like fit in the market. Nice. Like a lot of my clients also struggle with finding their purpose. Like what I'm doing is, you talk a lot about reprogramming the mindset and reprogramming the way they perceive life, the way they act. Like what I'm doing is like I'm helping mostly entrepreneurs also reprogramming their life, which is like basically just their mindset, but also like their routines, their habits, like everything. But with us, it's maybe a bit more focused on health. And like the deepest layer comes at the end of the trajectory. But like always with my clients, I coach people that make maybe 10K a month, but also like multimillionaires. And they also don't know like, what is my purpose? I've built all these businesses. I'm making tons of money. Some had luck, some had like a really hard way of doing it. And then they get to this point where they are rich, and it's like, okay, what do I enjoy? What is life about? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Like, do you have any tips for listeners that are currently at that stage struggling? Like, how can you find your purpose?
Yeah, the easiest thing is to stop asking the question and telling yourself the narrative, what is my purpose?
Yeah.
And instead telling yourself a different narrative consistently and writing it down and repeating it, that my purpose is becoming increasingly clear every day.
Yeah.
Or my purpose is unfolding to me each moment, or I'm getting more and more clear each day and gathering more evidence that my purpose is becoming clear right before my eyes. Because most people just perpetuate the narrative. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost. I'm sad. I'm depressed. And they keep telling themselves over. You have to break that pattern and just tell yourself a new pattern that it's becoming more and more true.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And then the second one is that, I think that there's a really good quote is people don't know what they want because often they already have it.
Yeah.
Or they can't figure out what they want because they already have it. So they're looking for something when it's actually right in front of them. They don't have to look. They're already doing it. Or sometimes, like, especially when you're going through hard times, like, you think, oh no, this is bad. But for example, I went through a very difficult relationship. And at the time I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm still meditating. I'm still goal setting. I'm still doing this. This relationship is awful. But I then, through that experience, although it was horrific, I learned so much about what is a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a position where I can help people out of it. So I'm lucky that mine, I don't think, was that bad, but I can now recognize it immediately. And it's made my relationships personally so much stronger. It made myself so much stronger. So I think if someone is like, especially like a millionaire out there, I actually know I'm friends with several millionaires that kind of have this issue. And I tell them, like, stop telling yourself you don't know what it is that you want to do. Just tell yourself it's becoming more and more clear. And I think another thing that's interesting to do is to look at your childhood, and specifically, if you can, looking at videos of yourself as a kid. Like if your parents ever had a camera on, super fascinating. One thing, my dad was always filming because he's a photographer. And when I was a kid, I would just like pick up a ball and like go play with the ball and go like play basketball or something. And then I would like put it down. I'm talking like 2 years old or so.
Yeah.
And then I would go and I would like go play in the grass. And then I would like stop playing in the grass and I would go over to the bushes and like look at a bird or something. Like I would just go from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And that was just my nature.
Energetic, fascinated by things.
And then I would go revisit the basketball and I'd be excited again. So in like the entrepreneurship space, for example, they're always like build one thing at a time.
Yeah.
But that's not my nature.
So
I'm building Course Builder, Tribe Accelerator, Maxi. I'm now part of GCC, Hubi. Like I need to have these different projects. And I think I've done a pretty good job of like building teams and positioning myself in a way that I actually can do that. And I'm still effective and I'm not spreading myself thin, because you can spread yourself thin. But yeah, that's just an example of like, if you can look at baby footage of yourself, it's really telling as to what you should be doing now. And maybe even chilling as like what you are already doing. So
also like, what do you enjoy like in your core? What is it you're truly enjoying? And also like your character and your behavior. Like you couldn't do like Forex trading like 24/7.
No,
because you would just it doesn't fit your character of exploring new things, being fascinated to learn and to go around. That's interesting. I think that's a good way to start. For sure. Like, what are your best routines? Because like this podcast is called the Live Lab, which is basically the live laboratory. And in the beginning, we also talked about like if you can change the components of a certain thing, like as well with behavior, you can change the outcome. Like everything is live in life. You can see as a formula, right? So what is your like formula for success? What are your golden habits you're always like doing?
Oh yeah, we could talk about this for quite a while.
So,
one thing is that I'll preface it with is if anything that I'm about to say sounds difficult or challenging, but that you should be doing more of it, what I've been pretty good at is programming myself to enjoy things that I know are good for me. So I never used to like working out. I never used to like eating healthy. But I just started to program myself, and similar to the purpose thing, it's like Arlin is enjoying working out more and more. Arlin has a fitness routine that's becoming more and more exciting or exhilarating. Right. So some of my routines are one, I have a trainer. And I found that, so my trainer, I train no matter where I am in the world over FaceTime.
That's nice.
He's based in LA, so when I'm in LA, I train with him in person. But he's 65 years old, and he's like my Yoda. Like he's like a Eckhart Tolle kind of. Like he also trains Kanye West, which is crazy.
Cool.
And he's not a celebrity trainer. He's like the most. He doesn't have an Instagram account. He hates all that shit. Like he's just old fashioned. He used to train with like Schwarzenegger and stuff. So he's just obsessed. He's a master of the body and the mind. And so 3 days a week, the workouts are less than 30 minutes. Sometimes yesterday was maybe 10 minutes. And I do it 3 days a week, no matter what, no matter how I'm feeling. If maybe I go out, I'm hungover, it doesn't matter. I still train, and I never miss that. So that's key, training. I meditate very, very consistently. It used to be a lot more militant. Like it has to be 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., 30 minutes on the dot. Now it's much more when I can, like when I have the time, I will. Yeah. Even if it's like, just a few minutes ago or like a couple hours ago after I went to the museum with my girlfriend, she's in the gift shop. I'm like, okay, meditation time. I don't know when she's going to be out of the gift shop, but maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 10. Here's a meditation opportunity.
Just stay outside.
Yeah, just sit and observe and see how I'm feeling. And I have so many different meditation tactics in my arsenal, like from Qigong to like, breathing exercises. So I'll just do various, often ancient techniques meditation wise. Cool. So I'm meditating every day. If I had to guess, for at least an hour with all the cumulative time that it turns out to be. So there's that. There's the food that I put in my body. I always make sure that I have specific types of food as, in a certain, I think now my diet is like, especially as I'm traveling, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's really like, as long as I have 60 to 70% of the time, I have my 4 to 6 eggs daily. And then like a steak, maybe like 2 or 3 steaks a week. I often will have fish or chicken, or maybe instead of eggs in the morning, I'll do like a yogurt or something like that. But if I hit like what I'm supposed to be eating when getting those proteins in 60, 70% of the time, the rest of the time I can pretty much eat whatever I want. Yeah. Like I eat ice cream, I eat cake, I drink coffee now. Like I've been through times where I just skipped coffee for like a month or 2 months, but now I'm drinking coffee. Yeah. So I kind of just... Why?
Yeah, just why really, really shortly. Why you drink coffee now? Why you used to?
Well, where I used to, I just don't think you should depend on anything.
Yeah.
And so caffeine was something I felt I was dependent on and addicted to. So it's like, okay, screw it, I'm done. 2 months, it's gone. And I noticed that I actually probably had more natural energy. Yeah. And I slept better.
Which is essentially like a dopamine detox.
Yeah,
in a way,
exactly.
Just stop what you're depending on. Doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah. Exactly. I just found it. And the other thing about it, stopping caffeine, is when you don't drink caffeine, you're able to actually shut off. Yeah. And then you can rest. Like in the middle of let's say you have 2 hours of work planned in the morning, but it only takes you 30 minutes. If you're drinking caffeine, you're still going to be wired for the next 2 hours. Yeah. If you're not drinking caffeine, you can work for 30 minutes, finish it, and then relax. Yeah. And then you have an hour and a half more in your reserve if something else comes up later.
You're in complete control.
You're in complete control. Exactly. So now I'm drinking caffeine partly just because I enjoy it. And I think that half of like energy is not being stressed and enjoying life. Yeah. And like I'm in Europe and the coffee here is awesome. So I'm like,
good. Yeah.
I'm just going to have some coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So it's just like basically it's getting the right nutrition, eating like clean and high quality, non-processed stuff, like one ingredient, like mainly like 80% of the time, working out a couple of times a week, meditating. So these are like your 3.
Yeah, those are definitely, I couldn't live without. Like I could not. Yeah. Others, I would say journaling, note-taking, doing some form of visualization is key. I'd use my own system, Maxi. Yeah. So, engaging the subconscious, I find, is something that I actually have been intending to do a lot more of. This morning, I just downloaded Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself because I was like, let's do Joe Dispenza. And I was like, I need to get back to utilizing my subconscious as the supercomputer in my brain that I know it is. Because I felt like the last month I've just been traveling and doing all these things that I've forgotten to tap into that supercomputer we all have. So that is also like one habit is if there's ever a problem in my business or something I don't know the answer to or something I feel like I'm lacking, I'll just write down the situation as how I want it to be. And then I'll just leave it, go to bed, go for a walk, go work out, play some piano maybe if I can. And then the answer just comes at some point.
Just throw it back to the subconscious.
Yeah.
Let it do the work. Which is doing like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah. Like I don't meditate. Like I have all of my routines and habits and stuff. Like I always teach. I also teach it to people as well, right? But I find it hard to meditate. But then I found out like, okay, maybe for me, like doing sports is meditation. So I swim, I do calisthenics, I train fitness, running, I do many different sports just to be adaptable also. But then when I'm swimming, when I'm running, just the strokes, and I just lose myself in the strokes, right? You just shut off.
You become nobody.
Yeah, and that could also be your way of like meditating. For me, it's also like running. When I run like really far, sometimes I lose consciousness as well, like almost on the edge of losing consciousness. And then I get back to consciousness, like, whoa, did I run these couple of minutes? Like, wow, that's crazy. So this could also be like a way of meditating. Yeah. Cool, man. Do you have like, so these are your like main habits, your main routines. And do you find it hard like combining it with traveling? Now you're like yacht parties, doing crazy stuff with friends, ball parties.
It's funny. I have so many screenshots on my phone.
Yeah.
I could pull up to show you. I'll pull up to show you because like with working out, right? Like I was in Saint-Tropez a little while ago and I didn't have a gym in Saint-Tropez.
Yeah.
And a lot of places that I'm traveling don't have a gym. So I'm on FaceTime with my trainer, and basically the workout looks something like this.
Yeah.
Which maybe I could show. I don't know if they'll be able to see it, but it's like working out, just finding anything that could turn into a pull-up bar. Or here's my dip rack.
Yeah.
Right, just 2 chairs.
Nice.
So my trainer's just or if I can't do shoulder presses, press yourself upside down, you know?
Nice. He's in the car?
What's that?
Is he in the car there?
He's in his car, in LA. Cool. Speaking of car, that's just pushing a car.
Nice.
Right? Like there's always a way or no squat rack, squat your friend.
Yeah.
You know? so I do that. Cool. The meditation meditation or doing nothing. You could do nothing anywhere.
Yeah.
So I just sit or lay and just do nothing.
Yeah.
For 30 minutes or whatever. Food is a skill that is something I've had to learn of like how to order at restaurants to make sure that you get enough protein.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's what else? What's the other one? I guess journaling is pretty easy as well. I actually don't think it's super difficult to
just
stay
start
on
writing.
routine.
Yeah, ask questions, start writing. Yeah, and staying in a routine is easy in that sense. Yeah, if you have your like these non-negotiables, I think it's really important to really like prime yourself that these are what creates the best version of you. You are like you need to do these. These are your like non-negotiables.
I'll say the hardest one to get while traveling is flow state because flow state 100%. Is something that I know that the highest levels of flow state I've hit or when it was planned. So it's like I'm going to go into my deep work mode I'm like more of a night owl, so like 8 or 9 p.m. to 2 or 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And do that every day for 100 days. And that's how you hit flow state.
Yeah.
When you're traveling and like, oh, we're going out to dinner this night, or we're only here for a week and we got to travel and we got to go to this place. It's like you can't get into the deep work mode. Yeah. So that is something that I'm really looking forward to come August because I'm going back into that mindset. Yeah.
Did you find a way here to create it?
The past month, to be honest, not really. I've maybe hit it like a few times. I will say like the more work you put in, the easier it is to access.
Yeah.
But it's been difficult to like really get super into it because I haven't had the routine of that time of when it's going to be.
Yeah. Nice, man. Sounds good. Okay, we're well over an hour, so I've got like a quick couple of questions to round it up.
No rush on my end. Take your time.
Okay, cool, man. Like, what were your major setbacks, like obstacles, and how did you look at them then? How did you handle them? How do you look at them now?
Major setbacks. The first one that comes to mind was the relationship that I mentioned, which was very difficult because I pretty much stopped everything I was doing for this relationship and I forgot myself.
Stop being yourself.
Yeah, stop being myself to placate to another human. And people who've been in that kind of relationship understand. People who are currently in it kind of, it's trapping because I remember even watching videos about like the toxic relationship cycle and being like, oh my God, that's me. But I'm still in the relationship and I don't know what to do and I can't leave.
Yeah.
So I think probably on that note, like the best way to get out of a toxic relationship is you have to distance yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like in a relationship you shouldn't be in, you somehow have to get apart from them physically for like at least 2 weeks and get around the people you used to hang out with. That's what did it for me.
Yeah.
Like I just got back to hanging out with people I used to hang out with and I was like, oh my God, like I'm a shell of what I used to be.
Yeah.
And my friends have like moved up and I haven't. I've retreated. Yeah. And they were like, dude, like remember when you used to like be happy?
Yeah.
And so that was helpful. But looking back, what the problem was for me also was that I was a people pleaser. And a people pleaser is basically someone who operates too much in their thinking mind and hangs off of how other people are feeling.
Yeah.
And they have zero mind-body connection.
Yeah.
So what I started to practice was a meditation, very specific meditation with, I had a incense stick and I would light the incense and then I would just look at the incense. And incense takes 30, 45 minutes to burn to the bottom and it would be straight up. And I would just breathe in. And as I breathed in, I would just do mind-body connection. Nice. So take my mind and just focus it on my whole body. And as I exhaled, I would just relax and let my mind do whatever it wants. Breathe in, and I would just look at the point. So like very focused on the point of the thing going down, and then focus on my body. Exhale, relax, feel into your surroundings. And, you know, people pleasers tend to feel into their surroundings too much all the time. Yeah. So I started to train that, and the immediate things I noticed were super cool. Like I'd just be at a party or I'd be out to dinner with friends. And here's last night's a great example of how this has helped me in my life. People pleasers watching this will understand. I was at dinner last night, and in the past, my friends at dinner were like, do you want to go out to the club after this? Me sensing as a people pleaser that they wanted me to go would have just said, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
Without any regard to how I feel.
Yeah, what do you want?
But now that I've practiced going into my body and practicing mind-body connection, I'm able to hear them say, hey, do you want to go out? And I can go, no, I don't want to go out to myself. Yeah. And then I can tell them very firmly, no, I'm going home.
Yeah.
You guys go out, have fun.
Yeah.
And then they don't give you any shit for it.
Yeah.
It's when you say, oh, I don't know if I should. It's like they sense that you don't know what you want and they try to pull you more to them.
Yeah.
And you have to work on gravity to eliminate the toxic relationship setback, like your own gravity. So I would say that was probably the biggest one. I think.
And also like stop saying maybe, like using them, saying maybe. Just think of what you want, say yes or no, firmly stick to it.
Yeah. And that mind-body connection takes time to develop.
Yeah.
I would say if someone listening resonates with being a people pleaser, do that meditation with the incense stick, like as often as you possibly can. And over time, you get really good at like sensing your own self, what you want.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's a good trick, a good meditation. Nice. I was wondering, like, do you have any like health secrets that everybody should know? Like you hear a lot of, like the health scene is a really hard scene. There's a lot of bullshit, a lot of crap, a lot of manipulating, Like, what is your like health secret you think like people should know more of?
Few pop into mind. One is, instead of wearing sunscreen, get limited sun exposure.
Yeah.
And work your way up to being able to take more sun exposure.
Yeah.
I have optimal skin for like sun, right? I don't burn very easily.
That's great.
But even still, like if it's very sunny out, I'm super, like awareness solves a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So like I tap into how I'm feeling, that mind-body connection again. If I'm out in the sun and it's 10 or 15 minutes and I feel my skin like getting super hot, I'm like, okay, back into the shade.
Yeah.
So I think stop wearing sunscreen and like taking all the nutrients of the sun and sunning your balls is a big health secret.
Yeah.
And I think another one is going back to like food, is really sensing and listening to your body.
Yeah.
I think there's so much wisdom in your body. And I'm excited to talk about the body because I ignored it for so long because I was a people pleaser.
Yeah.
But if you really just pay attention to what your body really wants from like a longevity perspective, not just what your taste buds want, moment to moment, but like you can, instead of following like a super strict food plan, I just go off like, okay, well, I'm at this restaurant now. What does my body need? What is it? Yeah. What would make it feel really rejuvenated? And I go off that. And that's a skill set that takes time to learn.
Yeah.
But I would say it's like a health secret because most people are like looking for, I think, a plan to follow when potentially that plan is already somewhat inside them. You do need both. Like you do need some guidelines of what to eat.
Yeah.
But when you have those guidelines of what to eat, it's like for example, I was eating a lot of the Carnivore Aurelius liver crisps.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know these are good for me because like, the vitamin A and the iron and the zinc and all that. But then I started feeling lackadaisical and like I wasn't eating like any carbs, like no pasta.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm craving pasta.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started dialing back the liver crisps and eating more pasta, I felt relaxed. Yeah. I had much more energy and it was weird. It's like, I think everyone's body is different too. And depending on how much you train and your genetics and everything, like you call for different things.
Yeah.
So listening to your body is a big one. Health hacks. I think a lot of my health hacks are like subtraction. People are very obsessed with Whoop, Oura Ring. And maybe it's also because I'm more artistic minded, laterally thinking than analytical. But I used to have an Oura and it just stressed me out. Yeah. So I just got rid of all my health tracking. Yeah. And I'm like, when I was 7 years old, I didn't need to track my sleep. I just went to bed.
Yeah.
So I don't really think about it. And I just sleep and I wake up, no alarm, try to wake up to natural sunlight if I can. Yeah. Unfortunately, my girlfriend likes to sleep a lot and doesn't like waking up with sunlight. Yeah. So it's a little battle, but yeah.
These are good things. Yeah. Like a lot of people, their taste buds are not working as they should because they consume way too much sugar. So I think like a lot of people really struggle with their body literally can't tell them what to eat anymore because they've eaten so much shit. So like I really believe you should also do like get rid of the sugar and like reset the taste buds and really start to like feel again like what is your body actually craving?
Yeah.
Like I also really believe like aside if like being vegan is good or not, like I don't really care, but I also believe that they need like animal protein in some part of the year, like some sort of animal protein. So just really like feel what your body is craving for. You hear this a lot of vegans say like, I'm really craving milk or I'm really craving yogurt. There's a reason for it.
Yeah, right.
But really like I think that we try to reset the taste buds and really feel that feel what your body wants and try to eat less and just better stuff.
Yeah, eating less too is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would agree about the taste bud reset. I think I could probably use that. Eating less is good too. I think as guys, we feel pressured to like eat everything on our plate all the time, but overeating isn't helping you either. So.
Yeah. If you look at animals, like animals that undereat, live way longer.
Yeah.
So I believe like under eating from a longevity perspective makes you like healthier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like for sure what Arlen is saying, like sunlight is super, super important. Like you need sunlight to create the vitamins. You need sunlight, especially in the morning to create melatonin in the evening, which will be the gateway for you to fall asleep at night. So the quality of your sleep also depends on the amount of sunlight you're seeing in the morning, during the day, moving. So yeah, that's a big one. Which was the last one you said? Like sunlight, not blocking the sun. Like, and sunlight goes through the skin, but also through the eyes. So maybe ditch the sunglasses.
Really?
Yeah, a lot is going through the eyes. Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I've never heard that.
So sunglasses gone. What was the second one? You said clean eating, taste buds. And the third one?
It was just listening to your body, or like what your body should eat on the plan.
Yeah.
Sleeping
without
an Oura ring.
Yeah, the tracking
without a machine. Next to you.
For sure.
On you.
That's really interesting because like in my coaching, like everybody's asking, like they join the program, they ask like, what tools do I need? Do I have to buy Oura? Do I have to buy Whoop? Like I'm tracking nothing because I got stressed at the tracking as well.
Yeah.
And like you make your steps, you know your heart rate. Like why you care so much about your heart rate 10 years ago?
Yeah.
You didn't even care about your heart rate.
I'm glad that we share that philosophy because I would have felt bad if you're like a big Oura ring guy for your students. And I come on and I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah, like one-on-ones, they get an Oura ring with the program, but they decide for themselves if they want to use it.
Right.
My business partner is like super structured. He creates all these systems. He's like, I always call him like Mr. Consistency. He's like super consistent with everything. He's also maybe less creative, so it could be aligned there. So, but he's really like consistent with everything. He wants to know all the data, track everything. He has like the biggest arms in the Netherlands, I think, as well. And for me, I track nothing. Like I use no alarm. I use a wake up light sometimes. But like I track nothing. And now my philosophy is also really to feel what the body wants.
Yeah.
And also like if you don't feel like eating, you don't have to eat.
Yeah.
Before a workout or after workout. Really like feel what you want. And I think like a lot of people are lacking this sense of consciousness. They're just not feeling anymore. They're so used to what they see maybe on Instagram, like these top 5 routines make you a millionaire. They're just gonna do that. And like they're not feeling it anymore. Yeah. I think that's a really good
and that's what makes us human. Yeah. That's really good. I'm glad you're emphasizing that in your coaching. That's awesome.
Yeah. And also like all of the laptops, the blue light as well. So like blocking the blue light. I see you wear blue light blockers as well, right? Yeah. So I think it's just really important to for me, it's just like what I'm fascinated about lately is like we're not even able to do just the basic human functions which we're designed for. Like if you're a man, like what a shame if you can't pull your own weight, if you can run like 2 hours, if you need to survive, or you can swim, or you don't know what to eat, you even don't know what your body is like craving, what kind of food and when and how. And so I'm really obsessed with this natural way of living in that sense.
I love it.
I think it's really aligned with your vision there. Cool, man. Best piece of advice from you to people that want to start building their business socially, using social media, online?
Yeah, I think it starts, obviously a business starts with what problem are you solving?
Yeah.
And I think when you can first start with like, who do you want to help? Who do you want to serve? If you want to start building a brand socially, there's some skills you need to develop.
Yeah.
Depends how much like money you have to invest into this as well. But let's say you're starting from almost nothing, or you have maybe a waiter job, or I was a caddy around the time I started. You have who you want to help, and then the skills you have to develop are like, one, speaking to a camera, which is more difficult than people might think. And to, beyond speaking to a camera, learning how to improv and speak off the cuff and still sound intelligent.
Yeah.
So those two things can be accomplished by giving yourself really like some kind of 30-day challenge of some sort. This is what I tell everybody who wants to start any kind of brand.
Start putting in the hours.
Yeah, you just got to make at least one piece of content, ideally like 5 to 10 minutes per day for 30 days where you're speaking to the camera.
Yeah. And
you're building that skill set and the motor mouth piece. And after 30 days, you now have the skill and you can channel in any direction. You can do podcast, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. But I think that would be the biggest thing, is like starting that ASAP.
Yeah, that's really cool. So instead of like thinking about how hard it is, just start, do it every day, 50 minutes. And before you know it, you've got like hours of training.
Yeah, training. You have to look at it as training, and you have to put it out in the world too. It doesn't count if you don't share it.
Yeah.
Because your brain looks at it differently and will react differently when you put it out to the world. So
for sure. Yeah.
So you have to practice sharing stuff, and you'll be surprised, I think, at the feedback, especially now because it's so much more common.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then what I tell people in Course Builder is, what Adam and I tell people in Course Builder is to put out a bare minimum of an hour of content, free content per week. Bare minimum.
Yeah.
I probably shoot for like 6 to 7 hours per week. Mm. And I think if you look at like Joe Rogan or Gary Vee, they're doing those numbers, if not a lot more. So, the more free stuff you put out there, like the universe responds. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
So if you apply force into the universe by putting out free, valuable content, then it's going to respond. It has no choice but to respond with really money.
It has to go somewhere as well.
It has to go somewhere. It has to come back.
Yeah.
So it's going to come back in the form of cult-like followers, and then you could transform those cult-like followers into money.
Yeah. Cool. And how important is quality there for you? Like 1 hour a week? The quantity quality discussion, how do you look at it?
Well, if you have a podcast or something, if you're just speaking, you have to view that as quality, you know, and you get better over time for sure.
Yeah.
And you can brainstorm ways to make it higher quality over time. But I think people just like Gary Vee is a king of this. This mindset is that quality is subjective. Like someone could watch this podcast right now and be like, that was the best podcast I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Whereas someone else could watch it and be like, I've heard all that stuff before. It was boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
So quality is subjective. So just roll with quantity, I think.
Yeah.
I did tweet Gary back in 2015, and I asked him, Gary, what's more important, quality content or quantity content?
Yes.
And he responded, do both. And then I started my YouTube channel like a couple weeks after.
Nice.
So he was like transformative with 2 words.
Yeah. We tend to think in like black and white, left or right. Do both. Such an easy answer. Nice, man. It's the best. And what are your personal plans for the future?
We are in Barcelona the next few days. I'm going to then fly to London to the GCC Inner Circle first event. After that, Mykonos.
Nice.
Which should be exciting. Never been to Greece, so I'm excited for that.
Great food.
Great food, really.
Good
Okay.
People. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm very excited for Greece. A little intimidated by the language, but then after that, back home to my hometown and spending August, maybe a little of September even, with my parents, catching up with old friends, and enjoying the Cape, which is an amazing place to be in the summer. Cape Cod, not Cape Town.
Yeah, check it out.
And just working, building my businesses. I've thought about going to Burning Man this year.
Sick.
Which
could
be
my
cool.
List as well.
Yeah.
When is it?
End of August.
Sick. Yeah.
Early September. And then planning to live in LA this year for the fall.
Mm.
But who knows? I think there will be a big strategy session after this trip because like a lot has happened on this trip, and I'm just definitely looking at where I shall go. But yeah, I think that's the immediate personal plans. And I'm excited for everything.
Nice, man. Sounds good. Send Iman my regards.
I
don't know if he still recognized me. I actually met Iman in 2017, I think.
Oh, cool.
In the Netherlands. One of my friends, Bob van Bil, he would stay at Bob van Bil's place, and they would grow their businesses together. I actually met Iman there, like sent him a message once. So don't know if he still recognized me, but maybe a good thing to have him on the podcast one day as well.
Yeah.
And nice, man. Nice. Great. Arlin, really thanks for joining. Before the podcast, I said, like, Arlin asked me, like, how long do you usually make these podcasts? And I was like, okay, I want to make them a little bit shorter, maybe like 45 minutes to an hour. We're well over 1.5 hours. I really liked talking to you. Really interesting insights. For me personally, it's just creating even more. Like, that's one of my biggest insights from this podcast just comes to mind. Create more.
Hey, we got the hour and a half, didn't we?
Hour and a half. Do what you enjoy. Create more. So really thankful for you being here and grateful. And thanks.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
Guys, Bass is amazing. So I'm glad we did this. And let's do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, thanks man. See you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thanks voor het luisteren naar Live Lab, de podcast. Heb je veel waarde uit deze podcast kunnen halen? Laat dan even een beoordeling en review achter en abonneer je op onze podcast. Met Live Lab transformeren wij drukke ondernemers in no time naar topfitte high performers, zodat ze maximaal kunnen presteren in leven en business. Ben jij er klaar voor om je health en performance naar het volgende niveau te tillen? Neem dan contact met ons op via Instagram op @basbults en @jorikwiete en dan helpen we jou daar persoonlijk verder. Zie je in de volgende episode. Ciao.